Oh wow!
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Oh,
Water
I've
everywhere.
never heard a funnier joke than that.
And then he vomited.
Oh dear! Oh dear!
Welcome everybody to the Digital Download. Friday Mayhem from the Fabulous Five.
Cheers,
Friday
everyone.
mayhem.
Yeah, it's just crazy. This is so crazy.
So just get some introductions, Alex.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro and partner of DLA Ignite.
Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric from Crux.
Rob.
Good morning. Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results, based out of Boston.
You can see Rob's still in prison.
Yeah.
With background. And Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam, co-founder of DLA Ignite and Tim's business partner.
So we made an announcement last week about the social selling qualification, about the Institute of Sales Professionals have gone out to the market and they have a particular section around digital in their training portfolio about what makes best practice for sales. And what they've done is that they've chosen the DLA Ignite program to fit that digital slot. So
Obviously.
So we're now able to offer a social selling certificate or qualification, just as a qualification as much as you would get in a school or a college or a university.
The only one of its kind.
The only one in the world.
In the world.
So that was launched last Friday. So one of the things I wanted to do was just open up with reflections from the team here about the feedback that you've had from clients and feedback from the marketplace.
May I?
Please.
May I? So I've had some really interesting response. So I put a blog out about it. We launched it last Friday on this show. I put a blog out on Monday. The blog went down rather well. I had some interesting conversations with people. So some people had got in touch to say, so historic clients have got in touch to say, does that mean I just get a certificate because I did the program? Actually explaining that it's a wee bitty more complex than that was interesting, but got some good dialogue out of that. Got some people saying, right, so this isn't just a fad then. So this is a thing. This is actually a thing. So, and got into some nice dialogue from that where people are saying, right, okay, so the Institute of Sales Professionals, they're like proper. That's serious. That's interesting, and they've backed the program. That's excellent. So a lot of the conversations was around the fact that all of a sudden this has got a wee bit more serious. All of a sudden this is a wee bit more credible. Although I think the credibility was always there once you saw inside the tin. It's always nice getting third party backing. I did have one that made me giggle though. Where someone sent me a DM, someone from my network saying, I don't understand. How do you get a certificate in putting content on LinkedIn? Which just shows you, and therein lies the rub, right? Therein lies the rub. So that was a genuine comment in the DMs. I don't understand. Yeah, it has been a while. I don't understand. How do you get a certificate in putting content on and putting posts on LinkedIn?
Actually, there are plenty of those out there.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Who's got the robot noise?
The phone.
I don't think it's me, but
It's gone.
Someone's buzzing.
Who was what sort of? So were they sales leaders?
Sales?
You were talking to? Yeah.
Not sales. Not.
oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. A book is just words on a page.
And a book is just words on a page. Absolutely. So company owners, company leaders, COOs, CCOs, CEOs, salespeople, operational people, people who are just interested. I think the last couple of weeks have really been quite interesting with the amount of non-salespeople who are stepping forward to say, I've just realised, and I'm just getting it now, that I might be in health and safety, I might be in HR and finance, but actually, this whole social thing's up for grabs. And do you know what? You know, I might be in health and safety, I might be in finance, HR, tax, whatever it might be. I might be a tax advisor, project manager, but I've been putting out some content recently, and it's actually the reaction to that and connecting with people and getting conversations going is really kind of changing me, my department, my companies, kind of changing our business lives. So yeah, a good cross range of people. But the statement about how do you mean you get a certificate and putting posts on LinkedIn was from a salesperson.
Do you know, one of the things that I've seen that I thought was really funny, and a couple of people, and no one has actually overtly said this, but reading between the lines, a couple of people have struck up a conversation with me, and you know that they think they're pretty good at this.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden they're thinking, I think I'm pretty good at this, but what happens if I don't pass? and that fear of kind of catalyzing the, yeah, I'm pretty good at this because I post something and I get 100 likes on it. But actually, what happens if there's more to it than that? What happens if I've missed the point of this? And a lot of that, I think, is driven because they have been focusing on the tactics and not the strategy. If they're able to say, I go on here, I penetrate the accounts I want to, I build influence with the people that I want to, I generate opportunities with those people, I record those opportunities, and this is what happens. In fact, which reminds me, I'm doing a training program, or Tim and I are doing a training program with a company, and I've just had a one-to-one with one of the people from that company. And they said, so they've just done the first module, and they said, yeah, you mentioned in that, you haven't shown us how to do it yet, but you mentioned in that how we go out and connect to people. And I've been trying to penetrate this particular industry, and that's what I was tasked with as my sales role. I was tasked with that particular industry, and I thought the industry was dead. Suffered really badly during COVID. There's no money in that industry. There's no visibility. There's no appetite for what it is that we do to professionalizing that industry and accrediting that industry. And he said, I don't see that there was a future in that. I sent a connection request to somebody. They responded. I struck up a conversation. It is the best opportunity we have ever had in this industry. And you can imagine, I was just bursting with pride that they had taken the idea and they had already jumped ahead and had seen some success simply because of how they presented themselves, and they were doing it in a gentle way.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, isn't it, that lots of people are kind of scared at the concept of being assessed. And some people, exactly like this person, that you say, actually, I so badly want to assess you because you've come in with an open mind and you're already seeing some results off the back of this. Those are the people that you want to get this badge, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. My goodness me. Yeah, so an interesting week of interesting feedback. I think it's been welcomed. I think it's been kind of celebrated. I think it's got a few people's noses out of joint.
I hope so.
Good.
Yeah, I think it has, because let's face it, there's a roaring trade in ripping people off with nonsense. Hey guys, post a video and suddenly your order intake will treble.
Hey, put some flowers on your profile.
Stick some flowers on your profile, and your EBITDA worries will be gone. Need a new investor?
Post a meme and just watch the inbound arrive.
Yeah, what's the inbound? Yeah, and batten down the hatches for all the purchase orders smashing into the windows. Truckloads of them. Yeah, my goodness me. Yeah, so I think it's cat amongst the pigeons time, and now I think it's nice that those companies who are, I spoke to a company today who's just absolutely ripe for it, modern-minded, C-suite of and manager groups there, across a diagonal slice across every function in that company, with every single person. I wouldn't say absolutely set that we need to go and do this. Most of them were. Others were asking really, really good pointed questions about when we start this, what's it going to be like. Companies like that now have confidence. It's a confidence thing, so maybe up to now the whole thing, I don't really understand social media, this is a bit of a risk for us. actually now it's validated.
It's understanding the difference between, hey, can I get some tactics, and actually having a strategy. And that's what I think is one of the things that I've seen. One of the things that I was on a call with Adam, and Adam pointed out that because one of the things that when I worked in corporate, one of the big issues was when you recruited salespeople, actually getting them contributing and contributing fast. And I think that the fastest we got anybody contributing was about 6 months. So you've got someone on the
going to
book
say 6 months, yeah,
for 6 months before they actually start contributing. That's a big cost until you're finding out whether they actually can sell or not. And what Adam pointed out, if you're going to be taking somebody on with a social selling qualification, you actually know that they understand digital. You know they understand how to walk digital corridors and have those conversations. They're coming to you with what in my day was called a black book. So they're coming to you with an active network that you're all ready to work on. So they're hitting the ground running. So there's this thing about as soon as you know that someone's got a social selling qualification and certificate, they're going to be contributing far faster than somebody without.
Are we going to see at some point that this is going to be just projecting into the future, that this is going to be on job adverts, that this is going to be a required qualification?
It's got to be.
It's got to be, right?
It's got to be, yeah.
But I'm seeing a real sea change in terms of how companies are seeing this as being a strategic thing. So I told Tim about this yesterday. We are just starting to work with a new client. They've got a couple of cohorts, groups of people that we're going to be putting through our program, and they're very, very structured and professional as an organisation. So we're having lots of conversations about, okay, this is how we're selecting people that are going to be on that pilot program, and this is how we're inviting them to be part of this, and this is how we're going to measure the success and the output from what it is that they do, and some really interesting conversations which will help us with future deployments. And I said to them, what we need to do first of all is to have that initial kickoff meeting when we've selected the people that are coming on this program, and in fact, not just the people that are coming on the program. Let's do that for their managers and for the senior leadership team as well, so everybody gets an idea. And they said, how many people can come on that initial presentation? I said, well, as many as you want. Well, I was thinking maybe 400 to 500. Is that okay? Now, I think the point of that and the reason that that's really exciting is that it's an hour. That's 400 to 500 hours of company paid time being invested in them seeing the concept of social within their organization. That's an incredible investment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. That's what's that? That's 10, 12-man weeks.
Yeah. But what's your point?
Well, just to post stuff on LinkedIn.
Yeah, just to
Exactly.
post stuff on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes. But I think that there is, this is being seen as more and more of a strategic initiative for organizations. And the fact that now there is the opportunity for not just the company to keep people focused on the learning program. The learner joins, we've got them for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, they take their examination. From the company's perspective, it's costing them money in both cash and in time of people deployed on this. You want to keep them focused till the very end of the project in order that you get the maximum benefit from it. But from the learner's perspective, you're going to stay focused the entire way through because you're going to get an examination at the end of it. So it's a win-win, isn't it? It's a win for the learner.
And the important thing there for the leadership is as they're doing the exam, the salespeople are focused on doing what they need to be doing, which is selling stuff.
Absolutely.
Selling stuff.
Yeah. So I'm
Andrew's asked a question there about with the rollout of the certificate. How long does it take to achieve it, and how long do you think it will take to become a requirement?
So it will take 6 months for you to achieve it. So our program is 3 months of learnings and then 3 months of deploying the learnings. And what we're looking for in that second 3 months is a consistent behavior in people around posting, around engaging, around growing network within target accounts, and measurable things like that. Now, that's really important, because what we have seen from every learning, not in social, but every learning program, is that people learn, and at the end of the program, when they get their rubber stamp, they go, oh, great, I'm done now. Yeah.
And I think it's important to say, isn't it, Adam, that in terms of the learning, basically it's what a salesperson should be doing. So is the salesperson doing outbound prospecting? And are they getting conversations? Are they turning those conversations into whatever you need to do, like proposals or meetings or discovery calls or whatever? Are they taking those deals and accelerating them through the pipeline and using social to do that? Are they using social as a way of closing those deals faster, and using social as a way to get those deals, the size of those deals, bigger? So this is not a bureaucratic cost to the business. This
quite
is
the
about
reverse. Yeah,
this is quite the opposite. This is about how your business can make sure that your salespeople are focused on doing what they need to do, which is at the end of the day generating revenue and EBITDA for your business, and doing all the right things.
Absolutely, because this is not about saying, for 1 hour a day, we want you to sit in a darkened room going through a process of introspection, learning about yourself, where you're not being productive to the business for that hour. What we're saying is we want you to spend 1 hour a day connecting to people that you want to have conversations with and want to influence with, publishing content which makes you look like an expert or a human being that I can have some sort of conversation with, and engaging those people in some sort of dialogue.
But so you still have the hour in the dark room, right? At some point.
Absolutely. Well, that's a separate program that we run.
Just as well.
No, but joking aside, and I think that what's really interesting is that so often, certainly when Tim and I were in corporate life, there were mandatory learning programs that we had to go on within the organization. And many of those were around outsourcing or minimizing risk. So diversity and ethics training and corruption training and things like teaching you how not to be corrupt rather than how to be corrupt. And all of those different things which were a protection for the business. But when you were doing the training, you were actually being taken out of your frontline job, which was generating revenue for the organization or helping clients, and put in a room to learn these things, be it a virtual room. And what we're doing is we're saying the time that you invest in doing that is absolutely the time that is being productive to what your paid job is. That must be a win.
This is a sales methodology like any other. So, of course, having studied this and practiced this and passed this, you will become better at sales. The difference is this is the first sales methodology native to a digital world. This is not that old rehash with digital bolted onto it.
That's beautiful, Rob. In fact, I'm glad I thought of that.
That's given me the headline for the first program: native to a digital word.
Rob, absolutely, and I agree. And I think that the fact that the sales methodology that I went on when I was 25. 25 years ago, that are still being sold.
Sure.
And while they may have bolted on a bit of social, oh yeah, we got some social on there. It's not, and there's no other sales methodology right now that has social embedded in it or social from the core.
Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. Very good.
So I'm not as far along on my journey as some of you gentlemen, but some interesting feedback to share is I'm talking with a sales leader who really likes the sound of social selling, but wasn't sure how they were going to kind of get support internally. And so chatting with marketing, found that marketing wasn't working, and so managed to get their support to try something new. But then found the budget would come from HR and the learning and development budget.
Yep.
So the fact that we had the qualification was the thing that I think got the deal moving in the right direction, because the only way HR would let that budget go is if the team was getting a qualification at the end of it.
I think it's true, Alex. I think it's you look at any learning and development department, or within an organization, they're going to look for proper training outcomes. It's not a case of, oh, we're going to do some hints and tips and we're going to get some expert in from LinkedIn and talk to us for 2 hours. When, as we all know, that the barrier to entry for an expert on LinkedIn is 0. What they're going to want are proper training outcomes. And what this does is that means that from now on, the money doesn't have to come out of sales or marketing. The money can come out of the L&D, the learning and development budget, and that's a game changer.
I think what's really interesting is that this is it's social, not this qualification, but social is a strategic initiative within organizations, or should be, because it addresses, yes, revenue and opportunity development and pipeline. It addresses visibility, it addresses credibility, it addresses attractiveness, it addresses team building and structure and cohesion within an organization. It does all of those things, and yet we haven't got budget for that. And often, we have to work with those departments to unlock that budget. And this means that many of them that thought that potentially they wouldn't be able to run a program like this now can. And I think you're right, Alex. I think that's an incredibly exciting opportunity that we're able to unlock budget, which makes a difference in every single silo within an organization.
And I think that sales enablement also needs to also be stepping up now, because of the fact that there's a proper qualification, there's a recognition that this is now a proper sales methodology, and sales enablement can now come alongside and actually work with us to make sure that they're enabling the sales force to have this modern skill.
Yeah.
Have you, a slightly off-piece question,
No.
has anyone ever had any training that changed their life?
Yes.
You have? What was it?
It was a very early type of NLP type training. It was before they called it NLP.
Was that just called shouting at people?
No, it was about having...
Getting it done.
No, it was about... we did sit in circles, cross-legged, and sing Kumbaya.
Namyo Renge Kyo.
But it was it was about setting objectives and
Why is it objective?
affirmation. Hey, let's set some affirmations and let's read them in the...
But it had a serious impact on you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because it was one of those things where they actually, because quite often some things. It's a bit like when you know about Newton's first law, and you go, well, I know that apples fall out of trees. But actually, it's got a name now, and I now know why that is. But the thing is that one of the things I learned was about habits and the fact that they're okay and they're good.
Anyone else?
Should we talk about the content? Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to.
Go on, Rob. You take it.
And no music this week, Rob.
No music, I promise.
Mr. DJ. Oh, sorry.
Mr. DJ has been retired. So this week, I wanted to highlight a post that comes from Kevin Dorsey. He's a SaaS sales consultant and a leadership coach.
Any relation to Jack?
Not that I'm aware of. In his post, he says, do one thing at a time with full intention. I love the idea behind this, and I love that word intention. I love the thought of being intentional. He elaborates, when you're calling, just call. When you're demoing, just demo. And this holds true for your personal life, too. When you're with your significant others, kids, friends, etc. Just be there 100%. This, of course, can extend to many facets of life. For example, you can sell to a wide variety of audiences. But if you try to speak to them all at once, your message resonates with no one. I'm reminded of my favorite definition of multitasking: doing more than one thing at once and doing them all poorly. This is not new or groundbreaking, but it's nice to be reminded once in a while.
I'm interested in what the DJ request would have been.
Well, it was somewhere between one is the loneliest number and more money, more problems.
Your post reminded me of. Is anyone familiar with the guitarist Robert Fripp
Yes.
from King Crimson fame and Frippertronics and all of that? And Brian Eno, he's working
Married to
there.
Toya.
Married to Toya.
Lives next door to your mum.
He lives near my mum, yeah.
Married to Toya, and they're both making some quite amazing videos.
Yeah.
in lockdown.
Yeah, they're a bit...
Wow. Wow. Anyway, Robert... My goodness.
You didn't
Go
know,
on,
did
Toya.
you? Until lockdown. You just
No.
didn't know.
Just didn't know. So Robert Fripp's sister is a very, very well-respected, high-dollar, high-end motivational speaker in America. And Rob's post just reminds me of... she had him on as a guest once, the mighty Robert Fripp. I actually saw Robert Fripp live in Glasgow in 2005 with David Sylvian, but hey-ho.
I've met him.
You've met Robert Fripp?
Yeah.
Crikey. Amazing.
He doesn't like you to sit next to him, though, does he?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't know.
Right, okay, it's another story. It's a long story.
Yeah.
Just reminded me. There's a brilliant video clip of Robert Fripp talking, and he's they're talking about the concept of good to great, and I just love the way he started. He came on. It just reminds me of what Rob said about doing too many things and diluting it. He said because he's very professorial, isn't he, for a musician? He said one of the things about the whole concept of good to great is it assumes that you're already good. And many of us have to actually get to good before we start thinking about going from good to great. And I love that. It's always stuck with me. So whenever I see a headline or a motivational thing, I think, hold on a second here. Hold on. Let's break it down. And I love that. You've got to get to good first. Got to go from good to great.
Good point.
Yeah.
So Eric, have you ever been on any life-changing training?
The reason I asked the question, well, actually, anybody else? Alex, you've been on any training that's sort of had an impact on your life?
I have actually. I would say the training that's had the biggest impact is the challenger approach.
Ah, right.
And the reason it had such an impact wasn't because it was challenger. It was the way it was, the way that we were enabled, for it to run deep within the organization that I was at. So, there was a leadership track to begin with, before it was rolled out to the rest of the team, and there was ongoing coaching. But I think the one thing that stood out within that was in order to roll it out effectively within our organization, a bunch of us were interviewed so that they could understand, what high performing salespeople did well. And then they tailored the training based on that research so that we all felt, certainly the high performers felt that we were part of the actual program. We were more likely to then adopt what we were being taught.
Right, I see. Incredibly
powerful, and then very successful off the back of it. To this day, I still practice some of those things.
Rob, any training that sort of like set you off in a new direction, or still stays with you today?
Something that still stays with me today. In my undergraduate studies, I had to take a production operations class. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a sleep fest. I had no interest at all. And then they assign us a book, not a textbook, but an actual story The Goal.
The Gold Ram.
If you have not read The
Brilliant
Goal,
book.
read The Goal. I love it. I still use concepts from that today.
Wow.
And outside of productions operations, of course, because that is nowhere near my wheelhouse. But that was one of those things that I didn't expect and really changed the way I look at things going forward.
Amazing. Adam?
Ellie
Adam?
Goldrat, The Goal. Brilliant book.
Absolutely. Adam, anything?
No, obviously, the reality is when you know everything, it's hard to find training that's life-changing.
No Google or encyclopedia required.
No. Joking aside, no. But what I found is elements in every training that I've been to, some of which has been reinforcing stuff I know and don't do. And some of it has been, to quote one of your phrases, Erica, moon landing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been to a training session and gone, oh wow, that's completely shifted my view of the world. I have found some training in many years ago. I worked in design, and one of the things that we did was go on a print training program where we learnt how 4-color process printing worked and how the different screen widths and things. And that was fascinating, only in as much as it gave us, all the people that were on the course, enough knowledge to go and take our printers to task when they delivered some print that we didn't like. So that was counterproductive in many ways. But no, I'm still waiting for that training session where I go, oh my God, that is just mind-blowing.
Nice one.
But always
What about you, Eric?
I thought I was pretty good at presenting and public speaking, and on my, do you remember having a training matrix? Remember having one of them, a training matrix? One of the things in a job that I had was I was always getting into bother because I wasn't completing my training matrix because there was a requirement for my position to go on a presentation skills course, and the one that they'd selected was a 1 hour session with someone at the local chamber of commerce, and I said I'm not going because I think I'm pretty good at this. So I'm helping people internally with preparing for big presentations in front of large audiences and stuff in more intimate environments. So I said, if I'm going to do it, I want you guys to shell out here. So I found the Dale Carnegie's High Impact Business Communication course in Edinburgh, 5 days, and I was like, yeah,
Get in there.
get in. So I convinced my area manager to pay for it.
How
And I went
much?
down to, how much was it?
Yeah.
Back then, I think it was, so the afternoon at the Chamber of Commerce was like 350 quid. This was about £6,000.
Fantastic.
£6,000, fully residential, the whole lot. I went down there thinking, they're going to be impressed by me. By day 2, I was in tears in the gents' bathroom. I'm not joking, was in tears, was in a cubicle with the door shut, sitting fully dressed, sitting on top with the lid down, sitting going, breaking my heart. Jerry Godley, who ran the course, who's actually still a coach, I think he's part-time now, started by saying, we're going to reduce you to bare bones and we're going to rebuild you. All preconceptions about how great you are or how crap you are at public speaking, leave them at the door. Because we're gonna strip you down to the bare bones, and I'm sitting thinking, wait till they get a grip of me. Wait till they get a grip of me. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. I came back, rebuilt, reset. They did press conferences with you. They did. One of the reasons that I had to do this was because the role that I had at the time was one of the people who would deal with the press if there was an accident offshore. So they wanted people to have a structure to what they were doing, preparing press releases and giving that, presenting that, and taking questions. And I've never experienced anything to that depth or degree that absolutely did strip me down. And the strip down part was the crying in the bathroom. And I came out of there. I've still got a new man. I've still got the VHS tape where we had the breakout sessions, where they took you in and they recorded the breakout sessions, the one-to-ones and the role playing. And just fabulous. But good training.
Nothing
stays
to play
with
it on, but you still got the tape.
Nothing to play it on. Still got I can hold it to the side of my head and imagine. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, good feedback on impactful training, right?
Fantastic. Who wants to go next with their content?
Oh, I can go if so. This is a friend of mine. I mean, I've met her through LinkedIn, and she's a psychologist, and I struck up a conversation with her because I think that there's an opportunity for us to potentially collaborate with her on some things because, as we know, our training is more about psychology than technology and understanding how people engage with other people and that. And I just thought, given that this is Mental Health Week, Mental Health Awareness Week, I believe, I thought this was a really interesting post about being lonely. And, she's one of these people that's very confident, very engaging, and all of those things. And the concept of her experiencing loneliness actually seems almost a little bit alien, I think, in many ways. And I think the bravery of putting a post like this or exposing this side of yourself is a very brave thing to do. Anyway, she shares some great content. She's very lovely and well worth having a conversation with, and well worth following on LinkedIn.
That's excellent.
But a fantastic public speaker. I initially sort of reached out to her because I'd seen her speak at an event and was incredibly impressed, not just with how she delivered it. She'd obviously been on the same training course that you had, Eric. Not just how she delivered it, but the content and the thoughtfulness and the message that was inside that content. So that was my piece of content, and Dr. Hazel Harrison, well worth following, and she only lives a few miles from where I live. So there we go.
Cool. Yeah, very good. Very good. Love it. I could give mine a try if you want.
Yeah, why not?
Will we try that? I'm not particularly good at sharing the screen here.
You should get a Mac. It's really easy with a Mac.
Unfortunately, I need to do really things that require quite a lot of processing power, so I have to stick with a PC. I'm going to go with this. This is, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is Lester Clark. Lester is the Group COO, newly appointed, March 22, of OilServe, and he's based over in, I think it's Lagos, certainly Nigeria. And I just like this. I thought it was really raw and honest. Lester put up that he's 30 days into his new leadership position as Chief Operating Officer of this company, OilServe. He speaks about the fact that he's used this book, The First 90 Days, in guiding him through transitions in big appointments at Baker Hughes and things like that. And he says that this book by Michael Watkins is invaluable, and you can tell it's well thumbed. The leaves of the book have been well thumbed over the years. So he's done his stars analysis, he's done achievement alignment, securing early wins, initial proposed actions on the business. I just like the fact that this is a leader sitting sharing. It's not all about me. I actually, showing a little bit of vulnerability here. He's actually saying, I found a great book. I use the principles of this book, and I think it's great. But there's a term in there that he uses: securing early wins, securing actions to refocus on business instead of busyness. I loved that. I thought that was beautiful. Business instead of busyness. So great to see a COO of a company saying, listen, I'm open to textbooks and sharing knowledge and finding knowledge and applying that and actually putting it into practice in business. So there you go. I just thought I'd share that. I thought it was nice, and I love the term business instead of busyness.
That's a fantastic catchphrase, isn't it? And one that we should all remember. Yeah.
What's nice about that is you're hearing from a leader, and it's not, this is my thought. It's not, I was born into this. They're showing you the path that they took to get there and the resources they continue to lean on. I think that's fabulous.
That's great, isn't it? Terrific.
Yeah, sharing that knowledge is saying that there isn't something magical or something I was born with. I actually get it out of a book. which you can go and get from a library.
And so many others would just pass that off as their own work. It's what they're doing. It's all about me. It's all about me. But actually, he's probably light years ahead of those people, because he's on to combining
Chapter
that
3.
with the next thing and the next thing, and chapter 6 and chapter 8 and the next thing, and he's combined it with other things. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff.
So I found this report, which is from Demand Gen Reports, and it's what makes good content.
So what's the answer? Just want to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, does this align with our view of what makes good content?
It's what we need is more brochures,
Memes?
more brochures and memes. Yeah. So
Flower emojis.
yeah. So this is research. This is data. And what do buyers want from content? Funnily enough, they've worked out that actually buyers have moved online.
Right.
They say that buyers were online before COVID, but they're now even more online. So the average buyer, so 62% of buyers now read 7 pieces of content before they contact a salesperson. So what type of content do they actually read? Well, the next thing is that they actually spend 30 minutes reading that content. That's a big investment of time. And what buyers look for early stage, 58% are blogs and 56% are podcasts. And I guess because what they're doing there is they're searching for information, advice, and things like that. And they actually find that now 55% of buyers rely on content to make buying decisions. So, so what type of content is good? And they say that the problem that we have is that digital channels are becoming more and more noisy. So first and foremost, you need to curb your sales messaging. So, brochures and brochureware are complete no-no. What they're looking for, what the modern buyer is looking for, is research-based content.
Sorry, are you reading out one of our blogs from 2 years ago?
No. I'm reading my notes from this.
Oh, right, okay.
They're reading one of the
This is
blogs.
new.
And funnily enough, it was a blog that I wrote earlier this week, because I took the data from it and turned it into a blog. But the thing is that buyers prefer soft, short content. They're not looking for long form content. They're looking for. They're also looking to content to share. So this is the first time I've seen a report where they've actually said that people are sharing content internally. I've been told by sales teams within Microsoft that they actually look for people that will share content and to enable them to share their influence within a business. But this is what buyers are looking for, is shareable content that they can share it with the rest of the buying team, so that there's a synchronization going on within the buying team. And people are sharing it. Most of them are sharing it on LinkedIn. After that, they're using email, Slack, and Teams, and then finally Twitter to actually share it out. So what are buyers looking for? They're looking for high content, easy to access, data backed, credibility, relevance, and they want shareable content. And that is the answer and the secret and the key to good content.
Well, that's easy then. Just do that.
So what's interesting, I think, further to your point, Eric, is that this is what we were saying 2 years ago. And this might come across like a sales pitch, and it kind of is, I guess. This is what we were saying 2 years ago. This seemed 2 years ago to us so unbelievably obvious. And we know that from looking at our own interactions with people online and how we interact with content. Here's a 4-page white paper on our product. I don't want to read it. Here's a half a paragraph on our product. I will read it, because if I don't read it now, I might not find it again. And this fundamental behaviors that people have exhibited at every touch point that we've had with them and that they've had with us and that they've had with others has finally been pulled together into a report. But it is stating the bleeding obvious, isn't it? In so many ways.
But this isn't a sales pitch. This is research.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is data. This is data that you can go out there and get. I've put the report in. If you come to my LinkedIn profile, it's in the comments of the. This is data that says this is what buyers want from content.
Absolutely. But our thinking has moved
And along with
this.
TikTok videos of pandas. Yes,
absolutely. Thank you, Andrew.
I know, Tim, your report. I know a couple of guys, John the salesman and Jamie in marketing and Jason the MD, who have taken that data very seriously. In fact, so much seriously. And there's a recording next week.
There's a TikTok video coming out, is there?
Well, there's a recording of them next week discussing that very data from that very report.
They've taken it very seriously, and they've decided to go and rework their brochure.
Well, what they read was the buyer reads 7 pieces of content.
Hi, Chris.
So they put their brochure 7 days a week.
Yeah. Well, they put 7 brochures out. Yeah.
One brochure 7 times. There's my daily content.
Done. Social media, tick.
Yeah,
tick.
We're hitting it out of the park.
Smashing it.
We're all over it.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
You know, Tim, you know why they crave this content? It's the buyers crave this insight, this content. It's because we think it's hard to sell stuff. Sellers think it's hard to sell stuff. It's actually harder for buyers to buy because they spend all of their life trying to build consensus with their peers, and they need information to do that effectively.
Well, it's got worse, isn't it? Because now what happens is that if you think in an organization, there's a meeting, which is more than one person, and in there they say, right, we're going to buy a panda. Right, okay. What type of panda? Well, I don't know. I know what it's going to have black eyes. What is it? Going to have black eyes. Okay, let's go out onto the internet and actually find out. So everybody the door opens. They all rush out. They go to some of them go to their PC, some go to their Macs, and they start searching, and they define what is a panda, and then they go back to the meeting and they start discussing it. Sorry.
You just need to go to Andrew. He's the panda expert.
He is and if they'd known, they should have gone to Andrew. But they go out onto and that's the thing. Whatever they're buying, and what they need to do when they come back is that they don't have consensus.
We call them buyers, but really they're not. They are not setting out into the world with the intention of buying. They're setting out into the world with the intention of solving their problem. They're consuming this content with the hopes of solving whatever issue they have. If a transaction is needed to facilitate that, then they'll acquiesce. But especially when you said that they were listening to podcasts, that told me that they were listening for the solution to problems. They wanted to keep up with their industry and what are others doing, and here are the best practices and so on. And oh, by the way, this solution will help with that. But they're not buyers in their own mind.
Yeah. And then everyone has their own opinion in that meeting, and they end up like you say, right? They originally
could be a red, as Andrew says, it could be a red panda.
A panda. And end up buying a yellow one.
and then when it washes, the color washes off.
And then, which you may have seen before, maybe not in the larger corporates, but certainly in the smaller companies, the buying team get to the point where they've made the decision, they've done their shortlist, they've done their assessments. The CEO gets wind of it and says, "No, my mate runs a company that does that. We're going to use them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So, Alex,
process.
Yeah. Well, it's my
you've got
topic.
10 minutes, mate. So
string it out.
Yeah.
Well, whilst I'm trying to share my content here, there is a question that I'd like to throw out there if we do need to fill some time. So, that question is, are there any books that you've read that you, are there any books that you've read?
Error.
Yeah. That you found that was so amazing that you then applied that learning to your everyday life, whether it's professional or otherwise, without actually having had a training session. So anyway, we'll come back to that if we need to. So this piece of content is essentially, so it's written by Brent Adamson. So he coincidentally is one of the founders of Challenger. He's done some research into the buying journey, and there's one thing in particular that I wanted to highlight here, if I can make that bigger. But this sort of matrix here of the buying process just for me highlights how complex it is. We talk about that meeting with multiple people in it. The reality is there are tens, if not, hundreds of meetings that are happening all throughout the organization, trying to solve different problems all at the same time. And, thinking about trying to land on the problem that is the biggest priority to solve for is incredibly challenging for an organization. And there's probably 10, 20, 30 plus people that are attending these meetings, all trying to consume content differently, thinking they having an opinion about how they solve this problem. So for me it highlights how important it is that you've got people within your organization, if you're selling into this organization, creating insight, creating content that can be consumed by the different people within these organizations. And the other thing I think it highlights is when you've got a supplier selling into an organization going through this this sort of complexity, is the misalignment between the linear sales process and how the buying process itself is completely the opposite.
It's true.
I think that there's a fundamental issue that I have with graphics like that, which is that the seller, in the same way they do with journey mapping or whatever other process they use to identify how they can sell more efficiently, the seller looks at this and it says, okay, so as this is highlighted, start and purchase decision. What's the shortest route for me to get from start to purchase decision? And then they try to take that journey in the minimum number of steps. So they're looking for shortcuts. Mm-hmm. And, you might argue that I've not learned much in my life, but one of the things that I have learned, which is a lesson that keeps being ratified, is that there is no shortcut to being successful. So we see people trying to cut corners when they're on social. We see people trying to cut corners with their website by doing SEO and pay-per-click and all of those other things. And actually the reality is that if you just do the right thing, where you don't put yourself at the center of it, but you put the people you're trying to help at the center of it, and you do the right thing, the inevitable outcome from that is that you get the result that you want. So rather than trying to game the algorithm or game the system, you just do really great content that helps people, and that spreads organically. So within the organization, the objective isn't to say who are the decision makers at various points and where are the bottlenecks and how can I navigate that. You look at the organization and you say, I want everyone in the organization to think that I'm the best person in the world at what it is that we do. And then when they're ready, they will come to us. And actually that means that you're completely insulated from changes in algorithms and buying processes and team changes. And I think that so often, the journey mapping thing, and I keep coming back to that as one of my most hated phrases. The problem with journey mapping is that it absolutely focuses on my journey to sell, not your journey to buy. And it's about making sure that I map your journey to buy in order that I can make sure that my selling journey aligns with it. And I'm giving you the right bit of information here and the right bit of information here to maneuver you into the position where you buy my product. Whereas if you just say, I'm going to try to be the most helpful person, the most recognizable person, the most valued person with my opinion in this topic, anybody who looks out into the marketplace sees what it is that you do. Us being a prime example of that. If you look at digital selling, to pick a term that we focus on at random, we own the top 50 most influential accounts. Well, not all of them, but we are half of the top 20 30 influential accounts for that. Why? Because we spend all of our time creating content that helps people and educates people, not necessarily with an expectation they'll buy from us, but with an expectation that they'll be better empowered, and then they'll be in a better position to judge whether they want to work with us or not.
What's your view on whether or not the seller should be trained in coaching, so their ability to coach a buyer through this maze?
Is it coaching or is it empowering? Because ultimately, if you educate, fundamentally the challenge that most sellers have is that they're experts at what it is that they do. And the buyer is not an expert at what it is the seller does, because if they were, they wouldn't ever be a buyer. They'd do it themselves. So there's this disconnect in terms of knowledge. So actually, if you educate the seller, then you end up in a position where they recognize how good you are.
But I mean,
that's a good testimonial there from Chris, isn't it, Alex?
Thanks, Chris.
How often do we find ourselves guiding and instructing buyers on how to make that buying process easy for them? I mean, I spend a lot of time working with organizations to actually guide them through their own buying process, actually maybe even creating a buying process that didn't exist, because the buying process is actually, it's that simple or that complicated that it gets in the way. Yeah, so I spend a lot.
Yeah, I think, if you think about, if I'm allowed to use the word buyer as a collective metaphor, Rob, of people.
I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. What we, if you think about, my background is selling accounting systems. Everyone I sold an accounting system hadn't bought an accounting system. Because the last time that an accounting system was bought was 10, 15 years ago. So there was somebody, and so what you were doing was educating. So it was very much, organizations like you usually take this as the next step, and walking them through the process. Now you'll get some sales gurus will say, well, you need to be in control, and in fact that's good practice, because then you're controlling the process rather than the competition. But in most cases it's actually guidance and coaching and saying this is and then after that what you're going to do is this. And I think that's just helping people, because at the end of the day the buyer and you want to make it a success, and you want them to be a success just as much as you will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good.
Do you know this? I've seen that loads and loads of times, Alex. This is a bit of a, and I've never seen that blob that says start, and I've never seen that blob that says purchase decision before. Now, is that the way that my mind works? I just go in and look at the, because I think a lot of people have seen this and said that's a load of rubbish. Just phone everybody up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a great report, and if anyone hasn't read it, then it's well worth. When did it come out, Alex? I was looking for a date on it when I was.
I want to say.
Was it October, or was it? I mean, this
It'll be on that page one. It'll be on page one, will it not? The date.
Yeah,
the grey page on the left. Yeah. Is it not there?
No.
About the back page.
Back page, maybe.
No.
No.
So Brent's now left Gartner, so
yeah, I saw that.
He's a nice chap. I've had breakfast with him.
Yeah.
Claim to fame.
He paid as well.
Oh, better still.
So we're at time. So thank you so much. I tell you what we'll do. I tell you what we're going to do next time, because I think we were kind of building up to it. I think you were actually looking for some stuff. Eric, was why don't we next time we do some books?
It's a great idea. I've got a little pile ready for
Yeah. So I've got piles as well.
Why don't we do books next time? Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do some books that have changed our that we have changed our lives. And of course,
yes, Tim. You should do that, shouldn't you?
Sorry.
You should do that, shouldn't you? Yes, Tim. You should do that. It's an NLP book. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I read that. There's a whole series of them. I'm okay, you're okay, and what do you say after you say hello? Yep. My mum did them when she was did a certificate in social work. I read them.
A certificate in social selling. Anyway,
no, social work.
On that note, I have to drop because I've got a call waiting. So
thanks everybody
very much.